Hello. This week we're going to have a pretty simple exercise for simulating, and we're going to do a little bit of a research paper on inspections. So inspecting towers, if you will. How would you use a quadcopter to inspect a tower? So you're going to do a reaction paper this week, and you're going to write about inspecting a tower, and you're going to read what professionals do by doing an internet search of that profession, and how drones are being used by power companies, cell phone companies, telecommunications, to again replace manned operations where it was be more dangerous for a person to try to do something than an unmanned aircraft like your quadcopter drone. So let's go over your setup here for a second. Your airport is the junkyard again. So if you're not there, you'll go in to your environment, choose your airport. You're going to choose the junkyard. So that is what we have here. You should see a screen that looks very similar to what we have. Then you're going to make sure you have the right aircraft. So you're going to be looking again for that quadcopter X we've been using. So if you don't have that one, make sure you do. If you want to use the hexacopter, you can also do that for this exercise, and that wouldn't be a bad idea at all, to just change it up a little bit. I'm going to stick with the quadcopter for the sake of the exercise at this point. So we have that. Now, again, in your simulation, physics, you can always change from median, intermediate, realistic, custom, and you can define some custom elements here to give yourself some interesting challenges as well. If you start to say, well, I've gotten really good at this, I'm starting to get bored in these later videos. You know, you can affect your wind speed, your turbulence. You can make it interesting and practice many things. So why don't we try to do that a little bit? We'll go into our wind, and we're going to go our speed, and we're going to increase. So it's now 1. You can again hit the page button. So what do you say we make it a? That's a pretty strong wind. Just blew something across the junkyard. So maybe we'll come down a little bit. We'll go to about 7 miles an hour. Let's look at our wind. Do we want to set any turbulence? Let's increase the turbulence a little bit. So environment, wind, turbulence, increase. So again, you can continue to do this by hitting the insert button. So we're going to do 120% turbulence. We're going to do 8 mile an hour wind speed. Let's see how challenging this turns out to be. Now, the other things you'll need are your gadgets. So you're going to want your nav guides, okay? And again, you're going to want at least altitude, your distance from the pilot, your ground speed, your heading, and your voltage here. You're also going to want your remote control, which is known as the radio device, so that your professor can monitor what you're doing with the remote control. So again, if you're having issues, if you're moving the sticks too fast, if you're overcompensating, we can take a look at that and we can give you some advice. The next thing you want to do in the gadgets is pull up your viewport. All right. And then, as we've done, make sure you highlight the viewport box, and the yellow outline will come on. And once you've done that, you can go to View, Camera Type, and then the live first-person view. You're definitely going to want the live first-person view on this particular exercise. So what you're going to do next, you've got this all set up. Hit the reset button, center. We can watch that box move. You'll also start to notice your drone, because of the wind, is moving on the ground as well. That probably wouldn't happen in real life with an 8-degree mile-an-hour wind. You can see the windsock in your first-person view there. It's not dramatic, but it is definitely some wind blowing, so it's a good exercise. Once you've done this, you're going to go your pre-flight checklist from the first lesson. You have that. And you're going to, again, we want you to repetition, constantly going through all of your checks. That is the most effective way as an aviator to become proficient in making sure that you follow the best safety procedures that you possibly can. So keep that in mind. So you can do your pre-flight checklist, fuselage, motors, props running, propellers attached, gimbal checked, battery checked, telemetry check, all your checkpoints that you have on your pre-flight checklist. Once you've done that, then I want you to do your control. So you're going to go up, you'll see that we're drifting a little bit because of the wind. You're going to yaw back and forth. You're going to pitch forward, pitch back, pitch forward. Notice the movements are a lot more dramatic. Roll right, roll left. All right, so are you satisfied with your drone? Let's go up a little bit. Let's see how it's reacting to the wind. Notice how it is drifting. It's hovering, but you'll notice that it does drift pretty much in the same direction as the windsock. So keep that in mind. But here's your exercise. It's a relatively easy exercise you're going to conduct today. As if you were doing a tower, you're going to yaw to a tower and move closer to that tower. And you'll notice there's a little bit of sunshine coming in. A little bit of noise in the background. I'm moving towards the tower. All right. Once I've got the tower in a good view on my lower left-hand corner, I'm going to come down a little bit, move a little bit forward. And maybe I want to just looking to take video imagery so I can get a sense of the structural integrity of this tower. So once I get it close enough, and the sun's out, I'm going to then begin to do an orbit. And notice I'm trying to keep the tower as much in the center as I can. And I'm going to try to orbit all the way around. Now you can try to get closer if you like while you're doing your orbit. Remember to keep that tower in the center of that viewport, because that's going to give you your imagery. Let's say you were taking pictures or you're taking video. Maybe you're going to take this into photogrammetry at some point. Make sure you don't crash into it when you're doing your orbit. But as soon as you're done and you've done your complete orbit, what you'll do then is go above the tower. Remember to always go over an obstacle. Safest place. And we'll yaw over here. And we can start to see the drone now again in the visual line of sight. Because what we're trying to do is position ourselves and re-land where we took off. A little bit harder to do in the simulator than in real life. It's not a perfect model. We can kind of get a sense of where we are. And we can start to come down. And as we come down, we'll start to see where we are. Be careful not to crash on the way down. Get a sense of where you are. Fly towards your... And remember, you're going to be... Remember not to crash into the ground. You know that windsock. You know if you're close. Start to come down. That'll give us a sense of where we are. And we're going to go towards the heliport. Remember to always, one of the best practices you can do is to always land with the camera facing the other direction. And there you go, have a successful landing. Any landing where you land on the legs is a successful landing. Anytime you land on the heliport, obviously, if you can, go up just a tiny bit. I wouldn't do this in real life. I'd be happy with that landing, but the closer you can get to the H, the better. All right, enjoy this week's exercise. Turn your wind up. Impress your instructor on how much wind you can go. You can certainly go above 8 miles per hour. Don't go below 8 miles per hour. You can certainly do more than 120% turbulence. And you want to do that one orbit where you keep that tower in the center of your video viewfinder, viewport, and try to have some fun today in the junkyard. Enjoy the paper. Read about what some people are doing, how they're using drones effectively and applying it. And we'll see you in the next video.